So I thought I'd take a second, since this entire month I've kind of been talking about DistroKid, how awesome it is, what a great service it is. I'm not lying, it really is. You know, from my last videos, how I explained everything it offers for artists and creatives, songwriters, just anybody trying to release music. It's just a great service. Thought I'd dial in a little bit because this actually just happened to me and my friends, so I thought I'd explain a little bit, is using teams with DistroKid. It makes the process so easy when you're doing splits and percentages for a song that just got released. So the thing about it is, because, you know, especially right now, everybody's working from home, everybody's collaborating, everybody wants to collaborate. So when you collaborate, everybody wants to get paid. And DistroKid makes it easy with teams. With teams, you can go in and you select your song, you put in the person's email, you select the percentage. That's pretty much it. You're done. They accept the invite, they go in and they set their percentage and they just confirm everything. The cool thing is you can add unlimited collaborators. So that's always awesome. I mean, I don't think you'll ever have more than, you know, like 5 or 6. Maybe you will, I don't know, but you can add unlimited collaborators. So that's really cool. That's a plus. So it'll pay out unlimited people that collaborated on this one song. Another thing that's cool is you can actually change the splits at any time. Let's say I registered the song, right? I said, why not, we're just gonna do 50-50, here you go. And then my buddy says, why not, you did more work than me. You take 60, I'll take 40, let's do 60-40. So I can just go back in, edit that team's song, and I can change it to 60-40. So that's really cool, because a lot of times you just start throwing these songs in there just to kind of like remember who you collaborated with, but you're like, well, I don't really know the percentages, let's just split everything down the middle, we'll figure that out later. And you can actually just figure it out later. So that's always a huge plus by DistroKid. Thank you for that. You can also add or remove collaborators at any time. I like this because if you're gonna throw up a team song anyways, and let's say you only have 3 of the 4 people's emails, well, then you can always add that 4th person later. Or let's say you entered the wrong email, you can always remove that email. So that's what's great about it. I'm not saying like, oh, you wanna be like, well, I'm not friends with this guy anymore, let's remove him. No, it's not about that. You can remove like a bad input email or something. So that's really the benefit of removing anybody you added to the team. Another thing I should mention though, for teams to work, everybody has to have a DistroKid account. The cool thing is if they don't have a DistroKid account and you invited them to teams, they'll get a 50% discount on their account for that first year. Also too, if let's say you sent something out and one of your friends didn't sign up, like they're real slow to sign up, like let's say you send out the teams and everything and they actually don't do this kind of like admin work for every 3 months or every 6 months even, you don't need to stress about it, because DistroKid will just hold that money there, or their earnings, until they actually sign up. So it's not like they're losing any earnings for not signing up or accepting the invite. You can just let it sit there, and then eventually when they get to it, they'll get all their earnings that they actually wanted or that they actually earned. And then just a couple more points about the teams thing, which are just huge, is let's say 1% never joins, you know, the money's just sitting there. Well, you can always just cancel that and you'll actually reallocate all that money. So you get all that money that was just sitting there, it'll just go back to you. So you're not losing out on anything. So just go ahead and set up the teams. Let's say they never join, they said, never mind, you just keep 100%. Then you can just cancel it and you'll just reallocate the entire 100%. So it just shows that, which is a huge point, is that DistroKid never takes a cut. You pay your subscription and they just never take a cut from there. It's always all your earnings that you get from DistroKid. Now let's dive into this lesson. So today I'm talking about the PuigChild 670. It's by Waves. I had one of my subscribers actually request this video, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that as soon as I can. And today's the day I'm actually going to do it. I have some time. I decided to jump in and dive in and explain the PuigChild, really because I've been using it a lot on my masters. I know I talked about the Lursen Mastering Console by IK Multimedia. I know I talked about the Brainworks Master Desk by Plugin Alliance, but I've been diving into this PuigChild 670, and I showed it in my Mastering the Basics for Fashion's Born in America. So I decided to pull up that record also to show this plugin and just talk about it. This is a mastering compressor. It's a Verimove compressor, so it uses tubes to compress. And this plugin, or even the hardware, uses tubes to also amplify, to add more volume, boost volume. So it uses tubes, and it adds the color, it adds the warmth, and that's what you want on a mastering plugin. Something that's going to add more color and warmth versus actually compressing consonants or a fast attack, fast release. You want something a little bit slower, and that's what this is. Slow attack, slow release. And it's very easy to use. I mean, it looks complicated, just really the design of it, but it's super easy. First thing to look at is you got your on switch, you got your input, you got a threshold, left time constant. I'll explain what that is. You got your output. And then down here, it's the same thing, but you just got, of course, your mains, which is just the noise of the plugin that they modeled. Instead of power, you got input, you got threshold, you got time constant, and then you got your output, which is your makeup gain. And the only difference is this here, is this switch, which I'm going to explain exactly what it does. To talk more about this is this plugin, even the hardware, has long release times. Those long release times is basically just keeping everything cozy and tight. When it comes to like the tails, it's going to just keep the compression on a lot longer than other compressors. And that's just, like I said, keeping everything snug and cozy, pretty much like the glue, people like to say. One thing to keep in mind is the way they actually modeled this plugin, just like the hardware, is the release time never goes back to unity. So it's going to sound different. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just going to add color anyway. So don't even stress about that. I just thought I'd throw that note out there just because that's what I do, right? I throw out little notes here and there explaining these plugins. So now you'll hear a lot of people talking about the 670, right? And then you get people talking about the 660. And you're like, okay, what is the difference between the 660, which is this one on the right, or down here, bottom right, and then you have the 670 top left. So what's the difference? While you're looking at it, what you see is the difference. Basically, the 660 is actually just the left side of the 670. It's the same exact thing, except it's a mono compressor. It compresses one signal. The 670 is a stereo compressor, so it adds a right channel. That's it. It's the same exact thing though. There's nothing different, just one's a mono, one's a stereo. Now let's dive into this a little bit. First, we got the input gain, and this of course is telling you how much of the signal is going into the compressor to actually do compression. And the unity gain, so basically where 0 is before you're adding or before you're removing, is actually -14. So if you look here, it's at -14, there's 1312. I added 2 dB to go into the compressor. The second thing we're gonna look at is the threshold. And the threshold goes from 0 to 10. 0 basically is no compression, and as you go to 10, you're adding more compression, of course, the threshold. But keep in mind, it's not linear. 2 to 3 is not gonna be the same thing as going from 1 to 2. It could add a little bit more, it can add a little bit less, because it's not linear. You're not gonna go from 0 to 1, and let's say that's 5 compression, and then 1 to 2 is adding 5 more, that's 10 compression, because it's not linear. So just keep that in mind. Just slowly move it and use your ears and just hear what sounds good. For me, when I mess with the threshold, I like to just move the needle just a little bit, and I'll show you guys that when I play the record. Then we got time constant, and time constant is setting the fixed attack and release times. So you got 6 positions you can actually set it to. So 1, 2, and 6 actually has an attack time of 0.2 milliseconds. 1, 2 is 6. And then 3, 4, and 5 has an attack time of 0.4 milliseconds. So it's not that too hard to remember that. It's just 1, 2, then 6, 0.2 attack time, 3, 4, and 5, 0.4. So for position 1, you're getting 0.3 seconds of release, and position 2, you're getting 0.8 seconds of release. For position 6, that's actually an auto release, so it depends on what kind of signal is going through to the compressor. So for 3, you're getting 2 seconds, and then 4, you're getting 5 seconds of release time. And then 5 is actually an auto release as well. So it depends, again, what you're putting into the compressor. And then you have your makeup gain, and your makeup gain really is you just add back in what you added, or you remove whatever you want to do just to make it even. As you can see here, I took out 2 dB, and I think I did that because of going into my limiter. It just helped the sound of it. And then here, of course, the meter, I should mention, it's gain reduction. That's what it is. It's not an input meter. It's not an output meter. It's actually gain reduction. So it's what the compressor is doing. And then you have this beautiful knob, which is left, right, linked, and lat/vert. And you're probably wondering what these all mean. Well, linked is just linking the 2 sides. So whatever I do on this left side, it's going to do it on the right side also, and it's going to act like one compressor. So they're both going to do the same thing. So let's say the left ear is compressing harder. it's going to do that same hard compression on the right ear, even if it's not going hard. If you do left right, they act as separate compressors. So you can actually set the input and output separately, the threshold. Let's say your left side needs a little bit more compression, or your right side is being compressed too much. You can actually put left, right, and you can actually switch it up a little bit. You can add a little less, you can compress more on that side, whatever you need to do. Same with the output. So let's say your left side for some reason is a little louder, you can come in and you can just bring the gain down a little bit on the left side. And then the lap vert side, it just splits the signal into a matrix, right? And this is where it gets a little confusing. So it does like the upper left side of the signal and the bottom right side of the signal. It makes it go through all the summing, then it brings it back into a stereo signal. And it's cool, like you can get some cool like stereo imaging stuff through it, but for me personally, I never use it. It's too complicated for me to use, so I just use the left, right side and linked. But mostly it's the left, right side because I'm always doing mastering when I use this plugin. So that's what I leave it on, but that's what the lap vert thing does too. I mean, it's cool. Experiment, try it out. You'll probably enjoy it. Now, let's hear this plugin a little bit. So I'm redoing this end of the video. It turned out when I was trying to show the plugin and how it sounds, I actually forgot to record the Pro Tools audio. That's why I'm in a different shirt and stuff, and I just brought the session back in. Basically, I'm gonna show you how I have my settings now, and you'll see that I barely get the needle dancing, and that's what I explained in the video, that I move my threshold so the needle barely dances a little bit, and I'll play that now.
How much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land.
And this is on the left, right, so each channel, the left ear and the right ear, moves independently. So even if I add more threshold, let's say about 2.8, that might be too much, I'm not sure, but the needle should bounce differently. They shouldn't be the same.
How much does America cost?
Yeah, that's too much. So let's go back down to, let's say, 1. You can double click so you can enter the value you want, or if you click one and shift click the other knob, you can actually move them together. So let's go to 1. And let's see how those needles dance separately.
How much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use how much does America cost? How Columbus.
And you can't really tell here at this section that they bounce separately. So let's do this. I'm going to slam everything in, let's say, the right ear. So all the music's gonna go in the right ear and the vocals are gonna stay centered. And you'll see the right ear should compress more.
How much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag.
See, so since the right ear has more power going through it, it's gonna compress more. Now, if I switch it to linked, remember I told you it goes off of the left side. That's where the right side's grayed out. So now when I play it, the needles are gonna be exactly the same.
How much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use how much does America cost? How Columbus.
And that's the beauty about having it left-right, because you can compress the two sides differently. You know, if the right side needs just a hair more compression or the left side does, either or, you can actually do that. You have the control to do that. For me personally, I like to set the compression pretty close to what it is. And even if I don't change the settings, I still put it on left-right, because by chance, if the right ear needs compression at a random spot in the song, it'll do it and the left ear would stay the same. It won't compress the left ear for no reason. So I always slam it in left, right at the end of the day, even if I'm using linked or something. And if I go to linked here, it's real cool because you just do one side of controls. But keep in mind is if I move linked and then I go to left, right, the right side stays exactly where it was at when you control it. So if I put 10, go to linked, you see it slams to 0. But when I go back to left, right, it's at 10. If you want them to move together, it's back to, you can highlight them like this, and then you can move all the knobs together. Or you can just highlight like this, or you can click, shift, click, and you can move them. So that's how that works. Let's hear what lat vert does, so you guys can hear what that's gonna be sounding like.
How much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use how much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use.
And when you see me toggling it back and forth and you listen, you can hear that lat vert is actually doing like a flanger, chorusy kind of effect. And then when you go back to left, right, it's just basic compression. So I'm gonna do that again. Just make sure you hear that notice once I toggle it.
much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use as much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that...
It's almost like they brought all the delays and the stuff I have in the backgrounds up front, and then more of the stuff in the center, the main lead vocal is kind of going back a little bit. That's what it sounds like it's doing, and it's really cool. So you can get some real cool effects when you're just messing with that. And that's me exaggerating it, of course. Like I said, I wouldn't do this much compression. It's like, it's really destroying the track. So let's go back to 0.6 and let's go here.
Much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use as much does
I like that. Actually at 5 right there, it really opened up the record, and that's, you know, the auto release. 5 and 6 is auto release, so that's really cool. Let's hear what 6 sounds like.
Much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use as much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost? And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours? Could use as much does America cost? How Columbus discover a land that really never was lost?
Yeah, that 5 is actually pretty sweet. I probably should have used that for the master. I think when I was going through, I only tested 1, 2, and 3, but that 5 sound really good right now. So as you can see, like, this plugin is actually really easy to use, more than you'd think. It's if you don't really know what you want on your speed of time, you can literally just stick to 5 and 6 and then just set your threshold. Because when you come into the factory default, it's like this. You can go to left, right, click these two, bring it down, and then you can set your times.
Pledging to a flag that never was ours. Could use a laugh. Where's Kevin Hart? My God. Pledging to a flag that never was ours. Could use a laugh. Where's Kevin Hart? Pledging to a flag that never was ours. Could use a laugh.
And then here's that toggle, just bypass.
For a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours. Could use a for a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours. Could use a for a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never for a land that really never was lost. And for a land that really never was lost.
And you can hear, like, it kind of just glues everything together. Like, it's just kind of a musical plugin. Those mids kind of just come out more up to the front. So here's bypass, and then I'll unbypass it.
For a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours. For a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never... For a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag... For a land that really never was lost. And how we pledging to a flag that never was ours.
And that's the plugin, guys. Overall, like I said, it's an easy plugin to use. It's very simple. It looks complicated, but it's not. And if you really don't want to mess with the time constants too much, the attack and release, just stick to 5 and 6. And you just want that needle to dance a little bit. As always, I hope this helped you out. And if you have any more questions, leave a comment below or shoot me an email, follow me on social media or something, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Keep creating music. Take care.